All right, so what a moment to be an Arsenal fan, indeed, winding up the working week with some celebration as well. But of course, it's a Friday morning. Don't get it twisted at all. It's not time for any sports show. I'm just still celebrating the victory by the Gunners of England, crowned the 2025-2026 EPL champions. But we are here to give you the best on TV as far as the dialogue is concerned. This is your favorite current affairs program that is from 8:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. On every Friday morning. This morning we delve into two main issues. One, something happened in the Volta region at Daklu. Precisely, I'll be crossing over there to pick the latest updates on that. There was a mudslide which affected some households and some properties, displaced some people. We'll find out the latest update on that particular one. And also the main issue for us to discuss this morning, if you recall early part of the week, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama was in Geneva. He spoke at length with regards to issues on health. We delve deeper into that as well. What does this really mean to Ghana, and also taking a look at Africa as a whole? Now, there is another angle to that conversation that I want us to look at. In as much as the president and some other Africans are trying so hard to bring that unity and that one Africa, there seem to be some challenges. You can take a look at what's happening far away in South Africa, and the question now remains, can we have that particular target as far as uniting Africa and fighting a common goal is concerned? So there are so many angles to this particular conversation. It's not just going to be about the message that he put out there at Geneva, but we also delve into some other parts of it. But let's quickly start off with the conversation that I mentioned earlier with regards to what's happening, what happened yesterday in Adaklu. Our man, John Seshi, has been following the story. John, good morning. If you can hear me, how are you doing this morning?
I can hear you, Randy.
I'm
very good this morning. We thank God.
Very well. John, run us through what happened yesterday in Adaklu.
Okay, Randy, the Adaklu Mountain is one of the most visited tourism sites in the Volta region. It's about 580 meters tall, and it takes about 2 to 3 hours to hike. And on Wednesday, there was a heavy downpour in Ho and a large part of the Volta region. And then it lasted about 6 hours. And then in the early hours of the evening, between 6 and 7, we were told that a loud sound was heard on top of the mountain, bringing down a rock alongside with a heavy amount of mud that descended down the slope and then destroying some vehicles, a school, and some buildings around the foot of the mountain. And now, when you get there, it's not a good sight to look at all. And we were also told that some livestock were killed, and then a boy and the mother, a 4-year-old boy and a 26-year-old mother, were trapped. It took the intervention of some good Samaritans that are used in the town to come and rescue them before NADMU and the personnel from the Ghana National Fire Service got there. So we are grateful to God that there was no life that has been lost, but the site is not a good site to look at all.
Were there red flags? I mean, indications that something of this sort will happen? I'm asking in the sense that, I mean, sometimes the GMET, or I mean the various authorities that check some of these things, sometimes they predict, sometimes they mention it. Were there red flags? Were there some warnings ahead of what happened yesterday?
I'm not privy to any kind of information aside, but as a layman looking at the mountain, the Adaklu mountain, you could see that at the peak of the mountain, just below it, you could see some rocks that are hanging, and anybody that looks at it will know that it will just take a matter of time for gravity to pull it down. And this is Adaklu. Along the mountain, there are several communities that are located around the mountain. And looking at what happened on Wednesday, you could say that if measures are not taken, from a layman's point of view, there will be, in fact, more severe ones that might happen very soon.
What has been done so far to the residents or the affected areas? And John, let me get it clear. Which part of Adaklu are we talking about? Is it just one town?
Well, I heard in 2017 a similar one happened in Abuadi, another town, but this is the first that is happening in Adaklu Helekpe, and I heard this is the largest. And the people, none of them have been hurt, but all of them have been evacuated. And we thank God that school wasn't in session before it happened. And as the MP for the area came to visit in the company of the regional minister yesterday, said he is also grateful to God that it did not happen in the day where people will be cultivating along the mountain or school is in session. But the people are safe. The two that are injured has been in the hospital. That they have been treating them at the hospital. We went to visit them too yesterday, and they are doing well.
Second, I'm grateful. I'll come back so you wrap up for me so we can move into our next conversation. But yes, you spoke to the regional minister as well as the member of parliament for the people of Adaklu constituency, who also doubles as the minister for roads and highways. Let's listen to these two gentlemen. Maybe first we take a listen to the member of parliament first.
We keep cropping, cutting down the trees, burning the bush around it. Of course, the trees and the bushes were holding the mud and the soil. Once you remove them, the soil is loose. So I don't have the power to decree that nobody should crop around the mountain. It is something that together with the elders we can discuss. So that is the way forward.
We are grateful to Almighty God that once again we didn't lose a life, though two of my people are injured at the hospital.
If you recall, this is the second time in a few years that this has happened. It on both occasions it happened in the night. If it were to happen during the day when my people are on the mountain for farming and other things, it would have been a different story. I am not sure whether we'll be lucky for the third time. So my suggestion to the elders is to find a way of, let's have a dialogue as to whether we want to continue cultivating our crops around the mountain. Adaklu is blessed with so much landmass that you don't necessarily need to crop around the mountain. Rather, let's see whether we can restore the ecology around the mountain and use it for other profitable things like tourism and others.
We are grateful.
Have actually discussed with the owner of the facility, and he's taking steps to at least take out all the valuables and also look at the possibility of relocating, as a temporary measure. The whole place now has become a security zone. It's a disaster scene, and anybody visiting this site need to be very careful because we cannot guarantee the safety of our people. So we need to send a message around that yes, all those who go to the mountain for farming from now need to be very careful because we are entering into the rainy.
All right, so there you heard the member of parliament for Adaklu constituency, Honorable Kwame Gavin-Sagboja, and also Honorable James Gunu, the regional minister of the Volta region, all adding their voices to the unfortunate incident that happened yesterday or so in Adaklu. But John, finally, what next for the people around that area?
Well, Well, according to the MP of the area, he said you have a dialogue with the elders of the community to see the way forward so that this thing will not be repeated again. But aside that, the NADMO and the Ghana National Fire Service are working there. They have declared the area a security zone and have cautioned against visiting the foot of the mountain and the mountain till further assessment is done. So far, that's what we have.
John, thank you so much for speaking to us. Most definitely, when there is a latest update on that, I will definitely call on you for that update as well.
Thank you.
Very well. John Seshi is our reporter based in the Volta region, giving us an update on that unfortunate incident that happened in Adaklu yesterday. Well, let's see. For those of you who know Adaklu so well, it's a mountainous area. Sometimes these things happen. Like John mentioned, this happens to be the second or so in recent times. The last one happened in 2016 or 2017, thereabout. Hopefully they get some respite for this particular challenge. But let's come back into studio and delve deeper into the main conversation. Yes, the president was in Geneva, indeed speaking about health. How far with Africa's quest and how far with Ghana, putting Ghana on the world map. But in studio with me is Mr. Divine Amu. He's a lecturer and also a historian at HTU. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm fine.
Good to have you. I mean, maybe we might have a bite on what happened in Adaklu.
Yes, grateful to be here. It's natural that sometimes situations like this will happen. The ecosystem of Adaklu, as you have rightly put it, is mountainous. Not the whole landmass of Adaklu is mountainous, but the very space is mountainous around the Gwepe area, and this is the situation. So we are monitoring, as the regional minister said. My belief is that the place is zoned now as a security space, and that the individuals should cooperate with the regional security body to make sure that nothing beyond this will happen to destroy properties and life.
Okay,
yes.
Very well. And thank you so much for coming as well. Hopefully we'll have Dr. Emmanuel Adipadapo, who is a senior medical officer at the Greater Accra Regional Hospital, also join us via phone, and also a presidential aide, Dr. Samuel Aye, and he was in Geneva. More reason he will be on this show this morning for the next topic. Let's just take a quick breather. When we return, we delve into that conversation. Stay with us. This is the dialogue.
Surprise for whoever organized that cultural dancing. That is a group from Ghana. Your Excellency Elizabeth Baum-Schneider, Federal Councillor of the Swiss Federation, Dr. Victor Atala Lajam, President of the 79th World Health Assembly, Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, Director General of the World Health Organization, Honorable Ministers of Health, Heads of Delegation, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. We meet at the 79th World Health Assembly amid uncertainty, shifting global geopolitics, and deliberate assaults on the world's multilateral system have created doubts about the trajectory of global health cooperation and reform. 6 years after the last global pandemic, COVID-19, the world health architecture is changing rapidly. Overall humanitarian assistance is reported to have declined by 40%, and some of the largest Western economies have significantly cut their overseas development assistance. The World Health Organization's budget has been gutted by the withdrawal of U.S. assistance, forcing the organization to scale down programs and undertake steep staff retrenchments. In Ghana, health financing from bilateral and multilateral partners has significantly decreased since 2025. Ghana lost $78 million in health funding following the closure of U.S. aid programs. This money went mainly into malaria programs, maternal and child health, nutrition, HIV/AIDS programs, including testing and delivery of antiretroviral drugs. In South Africa, the abrupt withdrawal of PEPFAR funding has shut clinics, terminated gender-based violence programs, and left 1.4 million people living with HIV uncertain about their treatment continuity. And we're told that by 2030, 9 million preventable deaths could occur due to these shifts. It is estimated that the direct consequences of this aid suspension could push about 5.7 million Africans into poverty by the end of 2026. It is this gloomy outlook for the future of global health that prompted the convening of the African Health Sovereignty Conference, famously known as the Accra Reset, in August last year. It is against this backdrop that we meet at the 79th World Health Assembly. These troubling statistics are known, and we're not here to lament or wring our hands over them. We're here, among others, to decide whether the architecture we supervise is still fit for purpose. We're here to discuss how we can of global health policy rather than its author. Today I speak to you as one of the advocates of the Accra Reset Initiative, a movement born from the conviction that the old paradigms of dependency must give way to a new era of health sovereignty. These cuts in humanitarian assistance and ODA, as painful as they are, serve as the final clear signal that the old system of donor dependency is past its sell-by date. We're witnessing the end of an era, and we must have the courage to build the next one. We're contending with an international architecture that was under strain long before these cuts even occurred. We have more global health organizations than ever, and yet country-level fragmentation has worsened. We do not come to Geneva to mourn the past. We come to build a future where a country's health is not a byproduct of charity, but a result of sovereign capability. This desire to take our health destinies into our hands imposes.
And certainly the powerful speech by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama seemed to receive some applause all over the continent. But the man who was there with the entourage has also joined us via phone. Dr. Samuel Aye is a presidential aide, office of the president, and also Dr. Emmanuel Adipa, senior medical officer at the Greater Accra Regional Hospital. Both are on phone. First of all, let me welcome Dr. Samuel Aye. Doc, good morning.
Good morning, Randy. How are you?
I'm fine, and how are you too?
By God's grace, I'm doing well.
Very well. I'll come back to you quickly for you to just rehash what we just saw and what we witnessed a few days ago on that. But let me welcome Dr. Emmanuel Adipa as well. Dr. Adipa, good morning.
Good morning. Randy, how are you?
I'm fine, and how are you too, Doc?
I'm doing well, thank you. And good morning to my brother, Dr. Aye, all the way in Geneva.
Okay, very well. Dr. Adipa, thank you. But Dr. Samuel, let me just begin with you. Take us through what we witnessed and how significant that statement made by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama means to Ghana and Africa at large.
Yes, let me see. Good morning to our viewers and our listeners. I think, just like you rightfully said, the president wowed the whole WHO with this inspiring and powerful speech. And as a people, we must be proud of our president. We have a leader, we have a visionary leader, we have a president whom other countries wish they had. Because whilst the president was speaking on Monday, I had some African friends seated by me who wish that they had President Mahama as their president. And I was extremely happy to hear that, because this is a man who in just 1 year has invested in our health sector in only 1 year more than what any other government has done in the fourth
republic. And I will demonstrate that to you on record. But before that, the president did not only suggest or provide solutions. The president actually took the whole WHO through exactly what he has done in the last 1 year as president of the Republic of Ghana. That is exactly what His Excellency the President did on Monday in WHO. Now, the President made a point that due to a shift in global strategies, due to a shift in global multilateral or bilateral, collaboration between countries, the whole world has lost about 40% of its financing for health. And so then a need for a paradigm shift in our current global financing, health financing architecture cannot be overestimated. And so the president made a point that investment in health must be a priority, not only a social spending. It must be a priority for nations. And that's exactly what he has done. And why am I saying that? You recall that in the early days of the of President Mohammed's government, the president made us aware that 45% of our mortalities in Ghana, if 100 people die, almost 50 of them is contributed by what we call non-communicable diseases. Diabetes, hypertension, stroke, cancer, heart failure, kidney disease, and what have you. Now, when the laws of National Health Insurance Scheme was being made, our morbidity and mortality trend as a country were not so significant on the side of these non-communicable diseases. And so the whole idea of National Health Insurance Scheme was to achieve universal health basically and to solve other small health issues. Now, the health insurance itself covers only 66% of Ghanaians. Indeed, in the last 1 year, it's increased from 57% to 66%, significantly by addition of about 650,000 Ghanaians who saw confidence in the health system that is actually President Mahama had secured because of the addition of about 3 billion Ghana cedis to the National Health Insurance Scheme and what have you. You understand the point I'm making? So President Mahama responded sensitively to emerging trends, to emerging morbidity and mortality, data that was provided. And so what did the president do? In line with his vision of Accra Research, which basically talks about health sovereignty, the president created the Ghana Medical Trust Fund, also known as the Mahama Case. Now, this Mahama Case now has over 2 billion Ghana cedis. I'm aware that they've started about 50 patient pilot program where they are going to look basically at childhood cancers and other form of cancers, and they'll progress into, taking the course of other conditions like, diabetes, hypertension, kidney disease treatment, heart failures, and what have you. Now, when the president made that point, the whole WHO were giving the president plaudits because it is a very special intervention that is not so common even in African countries. For a president to be able to earmark over $200 million for a program or policy like that. Mind you, the president made the point that because of a shift in the global financial architecture where, for example, US has pulled out of WHO and the fact that they are not giving so much funding to WHO, they have reduced the funding at about 40%. Ghana alone lost about $78 million because of US aid. Now, will we throw our hands in this way because of the $78 million that we have been deprived of? No. So in line with the president's idea of health sovereignty, he had to bridge the gap. That money was for malaria, anti-malaria programs, maternal care, child health, and what have you. The president has been able to bridge that. And so that is the Ghana Medical Trust Fund for you. That is one leg of it. Another leg is the uncapping of National Health Insurance Levy, where the previous government had put a cap on it, that the National Health Insurance Scheme was being deprived of about 3 billion Ghana cedis to a point where several years ago, many hospitals were shutting down because there were no money allocation to them. Claims were not being paid and what have you. President Mahama was able to add about 3 billion Ghana cedis annually to National Health Insurance Scheme to a point where today we have no arrears in terms of claims and what have you. National Health Insurance Scheme is now very spick and span, and they are now paying claims monthly, where only 3 weeks ago we are told that they paid claims as far back as 2019. That was one important intervention the president has done as far as our health is concerned. Finally, the president also made a point about the fact that only 66% of Ghanaians are covered by National Health Insurance Scheme. What about the 33%? When they need to get screened, when they need to be taken care of, what structures are put in place for them so that they can get health? In line with reducing out-of-pocket payments in our health, facilities, the president launched the free primary health care policy, which has been incorporated into our system right now, where we are going to have health posts, chip compounds, health centers, and public health centers in polyclinics are going to roll onto this program, where people can just walk in and get screened in order to ensure early diagnosis, number one. Number two, to also, bridge the gap of health inequality in this country. It is one of the most fundamental and critical interventions the president has made in the last 1 year. So, 3 key things, all funded by this government, in line with President Mahama's Accra Reset Agenda, with a major pillar called health sovereignty. And so when the president cataloged all these things at WHO, people really gave him a standing ovation. People were giving him plaudits, they were giving him commendation for being able to do this in only 1 year. And so, really, it was a very inspiring session. It was a proud moment for Ghanaians. All of us were so proud. We were happy to associate with the president. And the president gave, suggestions about how the whole world, especially African countries, should prioritize investments in our health sector in order to avert the difficulties we have as far as health is concerned. So for me, I was extremely happy about it. And the president took the opportunity to put Ghana on the spotlight to show the world that indeed we're a sovereign country, we're a responsible country, and we take matters into our own hands and we deliver for our people. Basically, that is a brief,
like a summary. Okay,
what happened in Geneva on Monday.
Very well. Dr. Aye, thank you. And you mentioned the recommendations. There is a school of thought that says that, look, it's one thing saying it, and it's another thing implementing some of these things. I'll come back to you on some of the recommendations and whether or not they are feasible, whether or not we can achieve that as a country first, and then as a continent in the long run. I'll come back to you on that. But let me rope in Dr. Emmanuel Adipa as well, also another senior medical officer, to share his views on this. Dr. Adipa, yes, you listened to the man who has been to that particular program. He's just giving us a summary of what happened. From where you sit, what will be your reactions?
Well, I will say that I was very happy listening to the president deliver such an epic speech on that momentous moment on the global stage as the mouthpiece of Africa in the Africa Health Sovereignty Agenda. What I will say is he as a communicator puts the people who were listening to him, both in person and online, spellbound by stating the obvious problem. He made a problem statement, which is the shift in the global health collaboration between the not so affluent countries and the affluent countries. And there was a problem where even though they were the most contributors, they saw the rest of Africa, which contributed only 1% of its vaccine production, but was burdened by being contributors of about 25% of health problems in the world. The others who were contributors, and thereby when America shifted and decided that it was not going to contribute to the health anymore, we lost about 40% of global health funding. Now, that is the problem. However, and he also made a statement of the impact of the problem, which made Africa the subject of World Health Policy and not its author. So we didn't really have a say in what happens to us as sovereign people. However, the third thing he brought on board was the solution to the problem. He told the world that he did not come to the World Health Organization to mourn the past, but he came to proffer a solution on how the future direction of health with regards to Africa should go. And I believe that these three thematic areas that he broke down and explained and expatiated on and gave Africa what he himself had started as an African and as a leader of the African continent and as a president who wants to lead Ghana to be the mouthpiece of Africa in the African health sovereignty. I'm really mesmerized. I am really very happy that he did not only lament, he gave solutions that had begun to work in Ghana and the way Africa should go to be a sovereign country going forward, not depending on aid, but being, a sovereign country, owning its own health data and managing it with the collaboration of those who wish to go along with us.
Doc, but again, the concerns, how feasible is it, the goal to bring Africa as a united front and ensure that this benefits each of the African countries. But looking at the challenges, the tensions rising in the Sahel, the xenophobic attacks happening in South Africa and all of that, the question still remains, how can that be done? I'll come to you on that score, but let me bring in Divine also, because he comes in with the issues of Pan-Africanism and all of that. It more like what the president wants to do, and that's the kind of thing he's championing. But I have raised that concerns that I have mentioned to Dr. Adipa. With all these pockets of violence recorded, issues of the tensions in the Sahel, the instability, and now the recent attacks we are seeing in South Africa, how are we projecting ourselves as a continent first before even bringing some of these projects?
Thank you very much. I would not love to belabor the points I've explicitly explained by my colleagues, especially Sami and Doc. And so the real analysis of what happened is what they've just put on board. Look, the president spoke to problems of Africa when it comes to healthcare. Then he looked at how the world shifted from the collaboration of course, if you like, healthcare financing in Africa, and what he would expect to be done in order to ameliorate this problem. I think they are on point. But the most important thing is that we want to come back to what it meant for Africa, not only Ghana. I only want to see the president in the light and shoes of Kwame Nkrumah. Not only Kwame Nkrumah, but I'm seeing him as the one who actually want to reunite and also recount the position of Ghana to the light of the whole of Africa. Do not forget that Ghana led the independence crusade against the Europeans as the first sub-Saharan African country to gain independence. And this is a right time that I believe strongly Nkrumah has come back. And so the president, in many outing, will show that Ghana is repositioning herself to lead Africa in the quest for its development and also to move away from high level of dependency on other parts of the world. Now, the question you asked me is whether it is possible for us to come together as people in order to have a united front in getting this thing solved as Africa. Yes, I think It is very possible. The only difficulty we have is that we always look at our problem and the solution in immediate term. It cannot be the case. It will take us several years in order to get there, but the foundation should be laid. Then we have the various stages that will lead to this very conclusion. Like, look, yes, we are so divided. It took a very long time for the Europeans to create what we have as nation states in Africa. So it will be very difficult for us to accept the oneness that we had before the advent of the Europeans. We must also agree that we've been strategically colonized by different European nations with different philosophies. And that is to a large extent make us more or less producers of their survival. I'll put it that way. Whatever Europeans will survive on, we must be producing it. So our survival is not something they think about. And they created that room which actually divided us up to this point. So it will always be difficult for us to come together. But there is a way out. For the South Africa issue, it is a special issue because the population complexity in South Africa and the long period of apartheid has created the problem you are facing today with South Africa. To a large extent, I say it is not even xenophobic in a true sense of the use of the word. It is more or less Afrophobic. And I think
what's the difference?
So xenophobia has to do with the situation when you look at foreigners taking over your survival oxygen. That's what xenophobic should be in a principle of the use of the word. And so it means that the South Africans will not be only looking at Africans, they will be looking at Asians, Americans, Caucasians, Hispanics, all in their land as those that are threat to their survival and taking their economy away from them.
And not just a particular...
No, that is xenophobic. But when you look at what is happening today, it is more or less Afrophobic. And again, that is another theory developed by the system itself, so that Africans will continue to hate themselves to the extent that the very South Africa, the Africans help in removing the shackles of apartheid are on the necks of their own brothers and sisters. To some extent, some who are their own blood, like the Caucasians and the Xhosas, that you will find in Zimbabwe and the rest, they are throwing them out of the land. So the case is not about, but who actually designed this? It was a design structure by Europe and then the West in general and imposed on us. I think that's the difficulty we have. Then the Sahel issue, all this is so, we will be coming to the issue of the healthcare, not limited to science of medicine alone, but we'll be looking at the socio-economic dimension of healthcare. And that's where Africa has a
I'll come to you on that bit, but let me go back to Dr. Samuel Aye with regards to what he mentioned as far as the recommendations are concerned, and then the possible challenges as enumerated. Dr. Sami, if you're there, yes, you mentioned that the president spoke about some recommendations, the way forward. If you can also state some of those recommendations for us, and then the possible challenges, like I mentioned, the issues the challenges we are seeing in South Africa. I mean, Divine mentioned that we can't always say it's xenophobic; it's rather Afrophobic. Exactly. And then the tensions in the Sahel and all over. How do we achieve all of this? These are big challenges.
You see, first of all, every country has challenges. In Ghana, we also have our own challenges. But the most fundamental thing that we must take from what the president said, that we can't build a future where a country's health is not a byproduct of charity, but a result of sovereign capability. The point the president wanted to make was that regardless of the difficulties, the health of the people must not be seen as charity. It must be a conscious effort that resonates with the sovereign capabilities of every country, regardless of the difficulties you have. It must be a priority. So the president made some, recommendations to the House. The president said that, firstly, we should not let reforms in our health funding or health funding architecture be a ceiling. If we are to fix the system, we must be brave enough to look at institutional mandates and measures without fear. Look at how President Mahama created the Ghana Medical Trust Fund, also the Mahama Care. He specially looked at non-communicable diseases, taking 45% of the lives of our Ghanaians, with funding from National Health Insurance, from donations from individuals, from donations from corporate entities, from donations from government officials and others. That is what the president meant. But we must be brave enough to look at institutional mandates and measures without fear. That is the first recommendation the president made. And the president has delivered on it in Ghana. The president said we must invest in execution. That the world does not need more communities. It needs deal rooms, local factories, and resilient supply chains. And Doc rightfully made the point that in Africa, we produce only 1% of our vaccine needs, but we have 25% of our global disease burden. How can you live in this world when you produce only 1% of the vaccine you need, but you rather suffer 25% of the world's disease burden? And so the president made the point that by 2030, Ghana is making plans to exit the Gavi Foundation or Gavi Fund, where we'll be inching towards producing our own vaccines and becoming a donor on our own. Over the years, Ghana has always had difficulties in even paying for the vaccines we use. But I can tell you on authority that between 2025 and 2026, Ghana has honored all its vaccine obligations under President John Dramani Mahama. And we must be proud of this, initiative and how far we have come as a people as far as health sovereignty and health interventions and innovations are concerned. We must be extremely happy about it. Finally, the president said we must measure success by clinic, not the conference. We must measure success by the number of people who will benefit from the interventions we put in place. The people who will benefit from the free primary health care the president has launched, where people do not have to get to the terminal stages of ailments like diabetes and hypertension before they are taking care of the hospital. We must be happy that we have launched a program like this, where people can get the opportunity to be screened, to know whether or not they have diabetes, to know whether or not they have hypertension, to know whether or not they have any risk factors that will lead them to the terminal stage. That is what the president meant by, measure success in the clinic. The number of people who benefit from it, the number of people who benefit from the Ghana Medical Trust Fund or the Mahama Care. That is how we measure our success. And so these were the three recommendations His Excellency the President made to WHO. And I believe that many of our compatriots around the world were extremely happy about it. Like Doc said, they were extremely spellbound. The president demonstrated enough capacity of his country, and the solutions he preferred resonated with many of the other countries. Let me use this opportunity to congratulate and commend the leadership of the health sector in this country. The Health Minister, Kwabena Kando, the Administrator of Ghana Medical Trust Fund, Madam Obia Dako Opoku, and the CEO of National Health Insurance and his leadership. They are doing extremely well. They have done so well in the last 1 year to be able to, implement all these three strategic initiatives under the supervision of the Executive President. It is one that needs commendation, and we must be happy about it. We must be proud of ourselves as a country. So really, Randy, a lot of things transpired. The president did so well. The president has put Ghana on the global stages where people will be, proud of us. And as a person, while I was seated listening to the president, I was extremely happy and proud to associate with Ghana. So really, that is what happened.
Come back for you to conclude on this for me in a jiffy. But Dr. Adipa, yes, it's quite alarming that you look at the data. Dr. Ayer mentioned that 1% of the vaccines that we use are just produced by us. And that's alarming. And you have 25% of such diseases that we suffer hit us hard in the face. First, don't you think that it has been long overdue for a country like Ghana in producing their own vaccines, Doc?
Yes, it's long overdue. I agree with you. And that is why, the president of the Republic of Ghana, in his recommendations, he is not only talking rhetorically. These three recommendations that he gave are things he himself has decided to practice. So he said that let not the reform be a ceiling, but we have to fix the system. We must be brave enough to look at institutional mandates and measures without fear. Now, what did he do about improving the institutions and not making a reform a ceiling? He immediately took power. He resourced the National Vaccine Institute. And now the National Vaccine Institute is also collaborating with many more organizations for knowledge transfer and for local manufacturing of vaccines, because the burden of producing 1% of vaccine while you contribute 25% of vaccine to the global health burdens, or you contributing 25% of health problems to the global health burden, is a disparity that the world can take advantage of and make you the subject of health policy instead of being the author of it. So he has resourced, and his director of the National Vaccine Institute, Dr. Soji Tete, doing a lot to bring on board people who can collaborate with the National Vaccine Institute to manufacture vaccines locally and boost the local production. Secondly, he also said that we should invest in his execution. And what is the execution he himself has invested in? He has uncapped the national health insurance, like Dr. Ayer said, which has contributed much more to the kitty. And the national health insurance has been cleared. Allowances and payments to health providers has been cleared as far back as 2019. Health insurance is no longer in arrears, and therefore it is being executed on the side of curative healthcare. And then what is the execution he has committed on the side of primary healthcare, which is basically preventive and promotive? He has introduced the free primary healthcare, which basically will cover the deficit of the 34% of the population that have been left without cover. So that is the execution he is investing in. And then he said we should also measure our success by the clinic and not the conference. I love the way he even puts his words and let them rhyme. We should measure the success of our healthcare by what? By the clinic. How many people benefiting from the free primary healthcare will add to, reducing the global health burden from Ghana, and starting from Ghana, then joining Africa, and then to the world. How many people are going to benefit from the Mahama Cares, fund, where the national health insurance stops, then Mahama Care begins? How many people are going to benefit from that? We are not anymore going to just talk at conferences, talk shops, and all that. But we must invest in the success of our healthcare and measure that success through the clinic. Meaning that our clinics have to be resourced so that every donation or every contribution that comes to the kitty does not end on the table of a health director in a rural corner somewhere. The impact must be felt in the clinic and in the lives of the people who ordinarily will not have anything to pay, or who ordinarily will suffer catastrophic health financial problems if they are unable to be supported by the health insurance scheme and will have to pay out of pocket. So these are the takeaways that we have to make, and from the president's speech, knowing that he himself is practically executing what he is talking about, and therefore he is in the position to influence the world and to tell them that this is the sovereignty Africa deserves. And going forward, we are not going to be the subject of health policy, but we are ready to become authors of our own destiny and to make the world know that Africa is no longer a dependent nation and a sovereign nation in the trueness of the word.
Dr. Adipa, thank you. And again, I also come back to you for a concluding remark on this topic. But Divine, you listen to the two gentlemen. Yeah. I am also concerned. Something just came to mind that the priorities of the member states will vary. What Ghana needs, I mean, as far as the health sector, will be different from what Rwanda might probably need. And I'm also looking at investing heavily in infrastructure, if indeed all that the president mentioned is anything to go by with. Do we have the resources? When I say resources, I'm talking about the financial muscle as a continent to do all of that. And bearing in mind that the priorities will be different. Whereas in Rwanda, maybe their priority will be on roads or schools or something. Ghana, if we have health, can that really match up? How do you marry the two?
So looking at the data and what my colleagues have just put out, including the president, the fact remains to a very large degree that we are at a point as a continent where we all need the same priority. We all need the same priority. No, health, education, basic. All other things will come thereafter. You ask of whether we can confront it as a whole continent because of the priority base as you. It cannot be the case. We need to atomize. We are not united as people may think the whole Africa is united in a sense. Not yet. That is what we are agitating for. We hope that in the near future that can happen. But we must atomize even the healthcare financing within the continent, the countries of Africa. Look, Ghana has taken a bold step. And I'm saying this is not the first time, because from 1923, the establishment of Kolebu Hospital, and by 62, changing it to a teaching hospital, should tell you the role Ghana played in the sub-region. And continuously we see what the president is doing today. You look at the number of research institutes that we have into the health. Yes, that's great. But it's also a clarion call for the rest of African countries to take the bull by the horn, that we must heavily invest in the health of the people. Look, without the health of the people, you cannot rule over dead beings. So it is very important that the health becomes a priority, number one priority of our countries in Africa. Look, primary health is one of the things that many African countries should be looking at today, because it goes to work on preventive than curative. And that is what Ghana is doing. Ghana has got to a level that at least it will be a beacon for many African countries to begin to copy. So I agree with you that priorities may be different, but the problem is how many African countries will put their hand on their chest and say that we have sustained the development of our health to this level. So the most important thing is that the whole of Africa must begin to work towards, in fact, the research agenda of Accra should not be a limited language to Accra, but a whole message for Africa. And so that's my understanding.
You spoke about some socio-economic benefits.
Yes.
What are they?
See, so I'm looking at a situation where when you look at health, your understanding should not be limited to health alone of a country. It goes beyond health to look at social, political, and economic state of a country. Now, when it comes to political, it has to do with the will, the commitment of the state to go into providing healthcare, financing healthcare. The budget of the various African countries, including Ghana, as far as healthcare is concerned, should be reviewed. The note should be reviewed, and the intentionality should be that it should be double, if not quadruple, so that we provide not only infrastructure. Of course, we need to go on a brutal infrastructure expansion, but we must also provide for professional training. Again, institutions like the National Vaccine Institution, we need more of this. And there must also be the concept of indigenous medical knowledge. all these things.
But we have some institutions. You can talk about the CSIR.
Yes. How much are they told?
Yeah.
That is what we want to look at. And this is, of course, the example of Ghana. What about the rest of Africa? This is where the conversation comes in. And so I believe strongly that the budget towards all these things should now be reviewed. That's very important. But there must be a political commitment. If there is no political commitment, we cannot do this. You see, I don't want to go into a situation where some African countries during the COVID-19 pandemic were unable to afford vaccine for their citizens. Even Ghana here, to a large extent, the shock was so much that we were not even in the right frame of our mind in order to
sign some deals.
So I think it's an African thing. So the political commitment is the number one. Then when we are looking at the economic, you know, when the people have the survival means, employment is there, they will have the ability to pay taxes. These taxes will lead to the expansion of facilities in the healthcare. And so if people don't have economic survival, they don't have employment, they are not working, they cannot pay taxes, they cannot feed and fend for themselves, it is going to be very difficult for any African country to develop. So we must create economic opportunities for the Africans in order to help in promotion of healthcare and move away from health dependency as far as the other parts of the world is concerned. Then when it comes to social, we must also change our attitude. You know, there are some superstition about some diseases and all of that. We have our cultural differences when it comes to Africa regarding our health. Some of these things, there must be a deliberate education and awareness creation about the impact or the negative effect of some of these things. So when we change our cultural attitude towards even our environment, towards our health, as we take it from traditional perspective, that can also help. That is but the most important thing has to do with both political commitment, you understand, and then economic grounds of the people. That definitely will help.
Okay, and I think these are very fundamental concerns, and that's why I bring in the political activist, the man who speaks, for the government also. Dr. Aye, you heard Mr. Divine Amu on this particular one. Resources, major headache of African countries. I mean, we have CSIR, we have some other private institutions that are into research here and there. I recall when COVID broke, that was when a lot of us began seeing the works of the man at Kwa, is that the name, right? Yeah, Kwa, exactly. And not much support was given to him. Doc, resources is a major concern. How committed can we be as a people in ensuring that the target we have set for ourselves is achievable? Maybe 20, 30 years we are talking about. Is that even feasible? Hello, Dr. Aye. Okay, I'm sure we have lost Dr. Aye on that. But maybe if Dr. Adipa is there, maybe similar question or the same question to Dr. Adipa. Dr. Adipa, yes. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yes. So, Doc, I mean, I'm asking about the resources to some of these institutions. If indeed we are going to be looking inward, one, producing our own vaccines here and there, the commitment level, as Divine mentioned, do we have that wherewithal to do that?
Oh, yes, I believe we do have the wherewithal to do that. And it is coming on the backdrop of the, getting out of the WHO by the United States government, who basically contributes about 40% of the, contributions that comes into the kitty for health financing. However, the commitment of the President of the Republic of Ghana to the tune of about 34 billion Ghana cedis to expand health coverage to 20 million people in the budget this year is an example of a country that is willing to do more for healthcare. And for me, it is going beyond the rhetoric of the Accra reset to support the talk with financial muscle. And the way he uncapped the national health insurance, for instance, goes a long way to provide the support that the health providers need. and making sure that the health financing is not lacking and it is not in arrears. That will urge local manufacturers. You talk about core, the local manufacturers, people who manufacture, our medicines. I am one doctor who treats, people living with HIV, and you will realize that the $78 million that we lost in terms of funding when the USAID, funding was cut short, has affected us so much. But the commitment of the president to, even finance in advance the vaccine that we will need so that there will not be a shortfall in the country is the way to go. And like Mr. Amu said, look, whoever coined the term health is wealth is on point, because the health of the people is paramount in generating the wealth that the country needs to finance itself. And the president is showing the way that we have the wherewithal to do that. We have the wherewithal to resource our own indigenous institutions to collaborate with the world institutions in the manufacture of the basic medicines and the vaccines that we need to survive. And also, we are capable of financing our own health care in the non-communicable disease aspect, and to promote healthy lifestyles through exercise, healthy lifestyles through also good nutrition. And all these are being seen in the funding that he is giving to the various sectors of the economy to function. And I believe that if Ghana is able to do it, then we will be able to lead in showing the world or showing Africa the way, so that we will be able to extricate ourselves from the fringes or the ties of foreign donorship and become donors ourselves. Because even though this may go beyond his term and may go beyond his presidency, he is making sure he lays the foundation such that if we come out of Gavi financing for vaccines, we will be able to sustain ourselves and even become donors to the world in the future. We saw what happened in COVID 6 years ago, that when it came to vaccine distribution, the producers of the vaccines hoarded it and made sure it reached their people first before Africa got its share. That cannot be the story going forward. And like he said, sovereignty is not isolationism. It is making sure that we make ourselves ready to partner the world, and not for the world to be, in paternalism, where they become fathers of us and police us as to what we need and what we don't. We have the capacity of building ourselves and our institutions of manufacturing, institutions of service delivery, and institutions of healthcare prevention and promotion. We have the capacity to do that, and the president is showing the way.
About the amount we have lost as far as the issue of the USAID is concerned, the cut from the USAID is concerned, 78 million. I mean, that will come into the coffers of the state. That is what we will incur as a people. I mean, to what extent can we sustain this, even though we are looking inward? For how long are we going to continue funding ourselves till that particular target is achieved?
So as long as we remain resilient, and as long as we tell ourselves that we are going to work to support the nation, as long as we use public money for public good, and as long as we eschew certain levels of corruption where monies that are supposed to be used for specific things are diverted for others. For instance, you remember when we capped the national health insurance, we lost about close to 300 or so million Ghana cedis to other ventures, money which could have come to the health insurance coffers to be used. And therefore, we realized that we were in arrears since 2019. Health insurance provided had not been paid fully, and we were in arrears since 2019. But today, when the health insurance was uncapped, that 300 million Ghana cedis, which would have gone into other projects and left a deficit in healthcare, has been given. And therefore, health insurance is no longer in arrears. If we can decide that we are going to do this, we will be able to even get enough money from other institutions and put them into coffers like the Ghana, Health Trust Fund, the Mahama Cares, to be able to treat the non-communicable diseases that will not, that will be higher than the National Health Insurance can cover. Secondly, we have gotten to realize that health insurance only covers about 66% of the population. The 34% that have been covered now by the free primary health care, which means that you walk into any chief's compound to a polyclinic level and you are screened for free. You do not even need to be on the health insurance to be catered for. Money has been allocated for that. Equipment has been bought and the chief's compounds are being resourced. This shows that we can be able as a nation to raise money if we put our minds to it. And I am sure that this cut from the USAID is actually a blessing in disguise for Africa to begin to, not depend so much on donors, but become self-sufficient in health financing. And like the president said, in future, we should become donors of vaccines, of medicines, of health infrastructure, and even attract people into the country in a bid to exhibit what we can do as a matter of health tourism. And like Dr. Aya said, I'm very glad at what Mahama Care is doing. The 50-person pilot project that has already been started and fully financed. And also, I am very happy about their intentionality to train specialists to manage these diseases. And I believe very soon that the colleges of education, the colleges of nursing and midwifery, and the Ghana College of Physicians and Surgeons, who have been engaged thoroughly, are going to start, scholarship programs that will train specialists who will take care of these diseases from the coffers. And we must also be very, thankful to the donors, the local partners who have donated monies to the tune of what they have right now to be able to enroll people on board the Mahama Care in the hospitals. The 50 people who have already benefited show that there is light at the end of the tunnel. That light may be a candle light in a certain corner somewhere. But once that candle is beginning to burn, and everybody who is willing to partner these organizations that are being set up to make sure that Ghana is a sovereign nation and is self-sufficient in healthcare delivery, can come and also light their candle from that source and brighten the corner where everybody is. So that by the time we realize, in the matter of about 2 or 3 years, Ghana will be set ablaze by the candle that will be burning through the positivity of the way the president is leading the charge of leading the African presidents and heads of states and governments in healthcare delivery and healthcare sovereignty, dubbed as the Accra Reset.
Doc, finally, before I let you go, and this is a very critical part, and I don't know if you agree, that yes, the president mentioned that by 2030 we should be out of the Gavi, Gavi fund. Now, one will also ask that, are we really seeing some steps towards that? Would you say that the Mahama Cares, the uncapping of the National Health Insurance, are the major steps taken towards achieving that goal of 2030?
Not only is the free primary health care and the Mahama Care coming to augment the healthcare financing leading up to the exit of the Gavi fund by 2030. We know Gavi is specifically involved in vaccine production and vaccine distribution. Now, for the first time in the Fourth Republic, the president has advanced already payment of the vaccines that we need. And that is commendable. Meaning that if we are able to find the funding to sustain the advancement of our vaccine needs for our children, we will not be lacking behind even if we exit the Gavi fund in 2030. We are in 2026, and he has begun a certain policy of advancing money for the manufacture of the vaccine needs of our children. Hitherto, you remember, I think during the COVID, somewhere around 2022, 2023, there was some measles outbreak in the country because we had defaulted we were short on the measles vaccine. Now, if we are not able to make contributions as early enough to purchase these vaccines, these are some of the things that we will be having, because you need booster doses for certain vaccines to take root and start producing antibodies to protect the child fully. So if you only vaccinate the child once, the vaccine may not take, and then antibody production may not happen. And that is what happened even in children who had received only a single dose. Some of them, had, the measles infection. And there was an outbreak in certain regions that were hardly hit. The president did not want us to go back to that state anymore. Therefore, he has shown the way by advancing money for our vaccine needs, and therefore we should not be in deficit of vaccines going forward. And if that is sustained, then we will be self-sufficient in vaccine production. And like I said, the National Vaccine Institute is also partnering with some organizations to do some local manufacturing. And that is the president for you. That's the recommendation he made. We should, invest in execution, making sure, and I believe that from 2026 to 2028, when he will finally exit, that will be long enough to sustain the gains we have made in investing in the execution of, health financing, vaccine production especially, and essential medicines like medicines for, HIV treatment. Mind you, like I said, I'm a doctor who treats, who treats people living with HIV and TB. Now, these are people that you should be monitoring. Some of the medicines are cleared by the kidneys, and you should monitor these people's kidney function test and liver function test. Should their liver function or no, should their kidney function test or show that they are declining in kidney function at a point, you have to change the medications for them. Now, these are people who may have started with a communicable disease, but in the end may tip into a non-communicable disease.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, as kidney failure, for instance, you must prolong their lives by enrolling them on the Mahama Care program.
Okay.
And these are things that are being in place. These are things that are consciously being funded, and funding is being sought for them. So healthcare financing, I believe, is taking a new trajectory in Ghana, and the president is leading the way in teaching Africa the way to go to sustain the gains we have made, and going forward, making sure that we are no longer dependent on the world, that we will become donors of vaccines, donors of antiretroviral medications, donors of other essential medications that are needed to prolong the life and the livelihoods of the people of the Republic of Ghana and Africa.
Doc, thank you. Thank you so much for speaking to us this morning.
You're welcome.
Very well. So, viewers, there you heard Dr. Emmanuel Adipa Adapoe, who is a senior medical officer at the Greater Accra Regional Hospital, also adding his voice to this topic. But in studio, Divine Amu is still here. Let's just wrap it up quickly. And Divine, I'm going to bring back a part of the message the speech the president mentioned, and very emphatic one. Then you react to it. It says that We do not come to Geneva to mourn the past. We come to build a future where a country's health is not a byproduct of charity, but a result of sovereign capability. How does this resonate with Ghanaians and Africa?
As I rightly said, the man has started a journey. He's on a mission. And he's saying that we don't need to go back and look at the past and say that we never had this, we never had this, we depended on America, the aid is taken away, other bilateral agreements taken away, health financing from WHO because they themselves are suffocating, we are unable to help Africa. No, we cannot continue in that. And so these are the steps I've taken. And he referred to the step as what? Accra Reset. And he's asking his African colleagues to come on board and take clues from what he's doing. As I said, Ghana has always been in the forefront. So before even decolonization and after decolonization, we have seen it. Either in infrastructure or all the steps that he has taken in the new regime. In the past regime, look, health sovereignty is approached from multifaceted level. See, so it is not only about just the funding, but you are also looking at what? Infrastructure. Then you are also looking at capability of your people to produce your medicine, your drugs, to give you scientific data, technology, and all of that. And when we look at the president in the past regime, his first regime, he capacitated a lot of pharmaceutical companies to expand. That actually, had it not been that, would have suffocated or would have died completely as a nation during the COVID. And he's doing so today. My thinking is that he's not only speaking to Ghanaians that this is it, he's saying to Africans that this is the situation. We cannot continue to lament all the time. We cannot continue to depend on the world. When pandemic comes, they will become second-class people. So the next thing is that there must be collaboration. That's the embedded language he was speaking to the African leaders. A situation where you have Ibrahim Mahama and Dangote coming together to establish a pharmaceutical company to provide for the whole of Africa. How sweet will it be? How beautiful will it be? Sam Jonah, Adenuga, you see them coming together. And then, so this is the situation.
And these are just the new names.
Yes, and we have many Africans that have the ability, but we need regional collaboration. We need continental collaboration. We even need our brothers in the diaspora to invest into these areas. Of course, if we can buy drugs, medicines from Americas, from the Chinese, from the Indians, why not from Africa? And the investment into that area, how will it help develop Africa? I think that's the message he's sending to us. And so I will pray that we come together as people, pool our resources together. Again, as Doc said, I agree with him. We cannot pretend that the other worlds don't exist and build either Berlin Wall or Benin Wall. I prefer to call Benin Wall rather than Berlin Wall around ourselves, and to say that the rest of the world do not exist. We cannot do it alone. We need collaboration. But in the course of the collaboration, we must understand that it is about us and no other continent will do it, or race will do it for Africa, but for the African themselves. And that's what the president is saying.
Divine, before we go, Monday is 25th, right?
Yes.
And that's AU Day.
Sure.
Is that AU Day?
AU Day.
Yeah. And what comes to mind in wrapping up?
So, strongly, I believe the resolution at the UN, reparative justice, strongly will be on board, because then we have achieved the resolution. What is the way forward? What framework are we going to use to achieve or practicalize what we expected from the world? So I believe it will be on board. Another thing strongly has to do with...
And the president has been speaking about reparations.
Sure,
right?
Sure. That's very important. Yes, we achieved the symbolic one. That is beautiful. But we need to practicalize the symbolism itself. And so the way forward. How
and that is where the issue is. In practicing it. And again, that example of South Africa will come to bear.
Surely. So that will be the second thing we'll be looking at by Monday. Already the Foreign Affairs Minister of Ghana tabled a case against South Africa at the AU. And surely it will come. I believe strongly we've gone through this before, and we'll overcome. The South Africa case will go. We will overcome. Okay. We are brothers. And that brotherliness will not be taken away from us. We'll definitely resolve it.
Very well. Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming this morning. Hopefully Monday we should have a conversation on the AU.
Surely.
And I think many people don't even know that Monday is 25th May and that's actually AU Day.
We kill the spirit. We kill the
when
spirit.
You say we, who?
I mean Africa. Generally Africa. Maybe the current generation, most of them have not got the ground of history. That is the problem we have. It's a great quagmire of Africa. We need our history to understand the events of the past and how those events are impacting us today, and that will guide us in shaping our future. We need it. How the AU, from the beginning OAU, from the beginning the Pan-African Congresses, how they led to the freedom we are enjoying today. Even though we are not enjoying full freedom, half a loaf is better than none. And so we need to reignite the history.
Very well. Yes. Thank you. For many who don't know, his other name is Rasta. Do you still agree to that name?
That's it.
I used to respond.
It's an identity. I have it. I still have it.
Thank you so much for coming. I wish you all the best as well. Viewers, here we draw curtains on today's edition of The Dialogue. But let me say a very big thanks to Divine Yao Amu. He is a lecturer at HTU and also a historian. Also, we spoke with Dr. Samuel Aye, Presidential Aid Office of the President, and also Dr. Emmanuel Adipa Adapoe. He is a senior medical officer at the Greater Accra Regional Hospital. Charlie, it's a weekend, and Sunday will be crowned officially. We are the Gunners. My name is Randy Ahadzi. Please stay safe, stay out of trouble. Let's meet again next week. It's a wrap for now. Bye.
The great President John Mahama went to the United Nations and spoke for my people of Jamaica and the Caribbean and the Americas. And you said, we are not looking a handout, but recognition of what took place in the transatlantic slave trade. I thank you, my president. I am a child who suffer from this. Chains on my feet, whip in the hand. And tonight I sing a song to go along with your mission of reparations. Not a handout, but to acknowledge. But we're gonna do it not just reggae style, we're gonna do it high life. A high life remix by me, Graham Smargan of Morgan Heritage. Oh, President Mahama, I thank you for saying what you said at the United Nations. Reparations, justice must come. Africa and the Caribbean as one. Zimbabwe, not charity, but exposing them both. Now a new day of justice is born. Across the ocean, torn from the land. Chains on my feet, whip in the hand. But your light carried us through the storms. Now a new day of justice is born. Reparations, justice must come, yeah. Africa and the Caribbean as one. Not charity, but exposing them both. Now a new day of justice is born. Reparations, justice must come. Africa and the Caribbean as one. Not charity, but exposing them both. Now a new day of justice is born. Africa crying out loud. Now a new day of justice is born. Mahama, I give you strength. From Ghana to Zimbabwe, we thank you for holding the way. We say, Mahama, justice must come.